Chapter 1: The First Doll. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the bustling streets of Hyderabad. The city was alive with the sounds of vendors calling out their wares, the hum of traffic, and the occasional laughter of children playing. It was a city that never seemed to sleep, a city with secrets hidden in its alleys and byways. Vikram stood outside the modest apartment building, his hands tucked into the pockets of his worn leather jacket. His sharp eyes scanned the surroundings, taking in every detail. He pulled out a half-smoked cigar, lighting it with a flick of his wrist. Beside him, Bunty, Bhaskar, was finishing a conversation on his phone, switching effortlessly between Telugu, Hindi, and English as he gathered information from various sources. "All set?" Vikram asked, taking a drag from his cigar. "Yeah, the landlord said we could go up," Bunty replied, slipping his phone into his pocket. But he didn't sound too happy about it. "Nobody's ever happy to see us," Vikram muttered, starting towards the building's entrance. "Let's go." The apartment was on the third floor, a small, cramped space that had clearly seen better days. As they entered, the smell of dampness and old furniture hit them. The dim lighting did little to improve the atmosphere. An old woman, the landlord, sat in a corner, wringing her hands nervously. "Thank you for letting us in, ma'am," Bunty said politely, his charm always at the ready. "You'll find nothing but sorrow here, young men," she replied in a quavering voice. "Poor girl, such a tragedy." Vikram nodded, his expression unreadable. "We'll be quick." The room where the girl had been staying was small, with a single bed and a rickety dresser. The walls were covered with faded wallpaper, and a single window looked out onto the street below. On the bed lay a broken doll, its porcelain face cracked and eyes staring blankly at the ceiling. "Strange, isn't it?" Bunty said, picking up the doll and examining it. "Why would someone leave this behind?" Vikram took another drag from his cigar, thinking, "It's a message. We need to figure out what it means." They began to search the room methodically. Vikram checked the dresser, finding only a few articles of clothing and some cheap jewelry. Bunty rifled through the bed's thin mattress and the small nightstand beside it. There was nothing out of the ordinary until Bunty found a small, folded piece of paper inside the doll's dress. "Vikram, look at this," he said, handing the paper over. Vikram unfolded it carefully, revealing a crude drawing of a street map. A red X marked a spot on the edge of the city. "Looks like we've got our next lead." As they left the apartment, the landlord watched them with wary eyes. "Be careful," she called after them. "This city holds many dangers." The map led them to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Hyderabad. The place was dilapidated, with broken windows and rusted doors. The air was thick with the smell of decay and neglect. "Typical," Bunty muttered. "Why do bad guys always pick the creepiest places?" Vikram smirked. "Because it's where they think they'll be least likely to get caught." They entered the warehouse cautiously, flashlights cutting through the darkness. The interior was a maze of old machinery and stacked crates. As they moved deeper into the building, they could hear faint sounds, footsteps, whispers, coming from somewhere ahead. "Someone's here," Bunty whispered, his hand moving to the small revolver he carried. Vikram nodded, signaling for him to stay quiet. They moved silently, their footsteps barely making a sound on the concrete floor. As they turned a corner, they saw a figure in the shadows, hunched over a desk covered with papers. "Stop right there," Vikram called out, his voice echoing through the warehouse. The figure froze, then bolted towards the nearest exit. Vikram and Bunty gave chase, the beams of their flashlights bouncing wildly. The figure was fast, darting through the maze with practiced ease. Just as they thought they had lost him, they heard a door slam shut. They reached the door and found it locked from the inside. Vikram kicked it open, revealing a small room with a single window, now shattered. The figure was gone, but in his haste, he had left something behind, another broken doll, identical to the one in the apartment. "Damn it," Vikram cursed. "He got away." Bunty picked up the doll, examining it, but he left us another clue. Vikram took the doll, turning it over in his hands. There was another piece of paper inside, this time with a cryptic message, "Find the key where the rivers meet." "What the hell does that mean?" Bunty asked, frustration evident in his voice. "It means," Vikram said slowly, "that we're just getting started." As they stood there, the broken doll between them, They couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Somewhere in the darkness, the puppeteer was waiting, pulling the strings that would lead them deeper into the city of broken dolls. The next step in their journey was uncertain, but one thing was clear. They were up against a formidable adversary, and the game had only just begun.